Welcome back. Continuing our series, sitting down with all the major candidates running for governor. I have Stephen Waguespack with me today. Thanks for being here, Stephen.
Thanks for having me, Shannon. Appreciate it.
So you were a later entry into this race.
Yes,
so
I was the caboose.
You were, and I want to know a little bit more about that. You know, you even held your own gubernatorial forum.
I did.
So after sitting through that, what really wanted to make you jump into this race?
Well, you know, I'm a first-time candidate. I've never run for office before, so it is an interesting thought process. It's a little irrational. You have to be a little cray-cray to run, right? But, you know, a couple things went into it. First of all, I'm just passionate about the state being better than it is today. I'm worried about where the state's direction is. I think we need kind of a change agent guy who knows how to bring people together and solve problems. And so that was a motivator for me. Yes, I did have a forum, and you know, I do know the other candidates well, and I'm not running to criticize any of them. I just felt like I brought something unique to the table. And then the other piece is this is kind of an interesting side note is, you know, I'm longtime friends with Congressman Garrett Graves. I think he does a fantastic job in Congress. And he was doing a deliberation trying to figure out whether he was going to run at some point. And so just as a friend, I was giving him advice and thoughts and counsel and kind of helping him make a thoughtful decision. And you know, sometimes you help a friend make a decision, all of a sudden it forces you to be a little introspective, and I think that did a little number on me as well. So by the time he said, no, I'm not, I was prepared mentally to step in and offer something to the people of the state. I saw the need for good, constructive, solution-oriented leadership, and I felt like there was a path to victory. So it did come quick in a sense, but kind of that long evolution had a lot of factors going into it. Yeah.
Right, at this point in the election, I really want to start hearing about policy, what you guys want to do to make Louisiana better. So I just want to jump right into that.
Please.
A major investment that we've really looked at is early childhood education and higher education. There's big investments over the last 8 years. So how would you continue to make those investments but also pay for it?
Yeah, look, they're critical. The biggest challenge we have as a state is what we call workforce development. Now, a lot of times when people hear the words workforce development, they think of a welding class or something like that, and that's a small piece of workforce development. Workforce development starts in kindergarten, in pre-K, in early ed. Unfortunately, we have a lot of children who enter our student population in schools across Louisiana. They're either not prepared, they don't have mentors in the household, or they don't have fundamental reading and writing skills or whatever. Early education is a critical preparation point. And so I've a long time been a supporter of that. I've supported previous efforts to fund those both within the funding formula and outside of it. And I will do whatever it takes to find those funding sources. The challenge we have as a state is over the last several years, we've been dependent on temporary federal dollars to fund some of those slots. Those federal dollars have gone away. And so it is imperative on any governor to come in and be as creative as we can with those state dollars to backfill as much as we can. I can't fund dollars that aren't existent, so we just have to be creative with the current funding formula to do it, but I have a high priority in early education. That's the best chance to get kids on a pathway to success. On the back end, on the post-secondary side, you're right, we have stabilized investment in higher ed, and that is a very good thing. The challenge higher ed faces today really is one that's more of a national phenomenon than a state funding phenomenon. The national phenomenon is this: applications for higher ed's going down across the country. Demands for the workforce are getting more technical and soft skill driven. If you look at LinkedIn, if you look at 90% of their most recent job openings don't require a 4-year degree anymore. So the economy is not asking for expensive, heavy weighted 4-year degrees anymore. So we need to be mindful of that. Students are looking for a good bang for the buck when they go to post-secondary. And so I want to make sure that I'm appointing the right board spots, and I'm incentivizing universities to be centers of excellence. I want to fund you to be excellent at meeting student needs and regional workforce needs. And so if your region needs a certain level of expertise, whether it's accountants or nursing or whatever, I'm going to reward you for being great at that. In the past, we encouraged all of our universities to be a little bit of everything so that people can come in and get a general education. The economy doesn't demand it. The cost of higher ed doesn't justify it. And so I'd like for our universities to be center of excellence and very student driven. And I think students are going to start demanding that, so it's the smart evolution anyway.
And part of that funding that we have right now is with the half-cent sales tax. Yeah. Would you support allowing that to roll off, or would you want to renew it? I don't think we're going to need it, to be honest with you. The truth is, since they passed that, they've had surpluses in the Capitol every single year since then. So I think that tells you there's extra dollars to fund the existing resources. And also, those surpluses in the Capitol are not a product of a growing economy. Our economy is actually shrinking compared to other states in the South. We're losing jobs and population each
each year since they passed that sales tax. So anytime you have surplus in government at the same time your economy is shrinking and your population shrinking, that tells you that it's not a product of growth, it's a product of taxation. So I think within 2 years, if we do our job preparing our workforce, growing our economy, we can keep that funding level going on without having that tax stay on. In fact, whether that sales tax rolls off or whether you lower income taxes instead, some type of tax relief that is most impactful for working families is what I want to do.
And something that's really taking a front seat of this campaign season is crime. It's something that everyone knows is an issue
huge
here in Louisiana. So what are some specific policies that you would want to implement as the governor? Yeah,
when you talk to local law enforcement, DAs, judges, local nonprofits all around the state, crime's a huge issue. And there's a couple of things that rise to the top. First of all, we need more cops. It's just a simple, we need more cops. It's been very hard for them to fill their training academies, and there's a couple of reasons why. With inflationary wages, that's a good thing. People are earning more money these days. But also, people that used to go in law enforcement, now they're going into industry or into manufacturing because there's a better job there. So you have to compete with wages. We have to find a way to help law enforcement pay more. You're seeing that local law enforcement. We have to do that state police as well. Also, we have to back our police officers. They feel like they're often left hanging out on a limb sometimes. We need to kind of back them and reinforce them whenever they go out and do that. The other piece is technology. A lot of people don't want to testify anymore. They're scared. Body cams, license plate readers, neighborhood cams, they go a long way to proving crimes. The last piece is juvenile violent offenses. If you look at some of the break-ins in New Orleans, some of the issues we have with truancy, as it's called here in Baton Rouge, it's really juvenile offenders committing violent offenses either during the school day and after. And the challenge is we don't have the facilities to take some of these juvenile offenders and take them off the streets and either give them remediation or a GED or incarceration if they're just a violent offender. We have to do that well. And so in talking to sheriffs, there's some regional facilities that are being planned. The state can be a good partner with some of those surplus funds to make sure those facilities are planned, so when that juvenile violent offender does what it is, you can take them off the street, put them in one of those facilities. Right now it's a catch and release program, and that's not helpful. And you're a homeowner here in Baton Rouge, right? I am. So I'm sure you've seen that homeowners insurance has gone up for a lot of people here south of I-10. And did you agree with the legislature's move to allocate that $45 million to incentivize the companies to come back here? Yeah, I did. But it's a Band-Aid on a gaping wound is what it is. But yeah, sure, it's helpful. The truth is we have an insurance crisis in Louisiana. It's property and it's auto. It's individual and it's commercial. So it's kind of a full-fledged crisis. And I think there's several factors to that. On the property side, look, we've had a lot of hurricanes, a lot of tragedies. Every time you see what's happening in Hawaii or wildfires elsewhere, that's a global insurance market and reinsurance market that's impacted. And so because of all those issues everywhere, reinsurance is hard to get in a lot of areas. And so we need a peaceful season to rebuild some of that reinsurance market. I like the fact they recruited some of those smaller insurers. We need to do more of that. I like the fact they put some dollars into that fortifying roof program. We have to show the market we can take a punch because we know we're going to get hurricanes. Putting more money in fortifying roofs in communities is a good thing to do, but we have to do more. A lot of property owners here in Louisiana, they also hate what I call the adjuster shuffle. Something happens, one adjuster shows up, then another one, then another one. You have to repeat your claim 800 times. It just delays payment. It's a stall tactic. Drives me crazy. I want to put some tight benchmarks on that front, and I want to work with local universities in the state to develop adjuster training programs so we can train local Louisiana residents to be adjusters in a time of crisis. That way, no more shuffle. We get our neighbors to come in and help with that adjuster process. That should speed up claims. The last piece is legal reform. No one wants to talk about it, but it is the 800-pound gorilla in the room. If we don't clean up our legal environment, you will never have the ability to lower some of those premiums. It's not the end-all be-all. It's not the only solution. But as a leader, I'm tired of the insurers pointing the finger at the lawyers and the lawyers pointing the finger at the insurers and both sides just bombing each other. It's my job as governor to bring them both in a room, lock the doors, get some pizza and beer, whatever it takes, and say, guys, we're not leaving until we have a solution there. And that is reforms on the insurance industry to make them be more responsible, but it's also reforms in the legal industry to make sure we can take away some of those fluff payments and just focus on truly helping those that need the recovery the best. Some candidates have said that they would want to call a special session just for insurance. Is that something you're interested in doing? 100%. And I've already talked to Tim Temple, the incoming insurance commissioner, about just that. And working with him kind of quietly, I'm sure other candidates are as well, to call that. You have to have a special session early on. I am fully committed to doing that, and even have publicly said that already. So.
And if you were keeping up with the legislative session this last year, you know that a lot of social issues really stole the spotlight from some of these more important issues that some would say. So I want to ask you a little bit about those, just because they are causing a lot of chatter right now. So around the LGBTQ laws, did you support the overturning of the veto of the ban on gender-affirming care for minors?
I did, and let me tell you why. I think when it comes to these issues, there's a difference between children and adults. A child, before they go through puberty, there's a lot of tough questions every child has. We've all been through it. We've all had to go through puberty in our life, and the way the cycle works is you go through a lot of confusing times. Hopefully you have parents or counselors or neighbors or friends or whoever to help guide you through that. But until you become an adult, it's hard. Life can be confusing. Your own body can be confusing. I think making permanent changes on something like that for a child is the wrong thing to do. So we should not allow that. Now, when someone becomes an adult, I believe in live your life how you want to live your life, and I'm not a big government fan, and so I don't want government coming in and telling you how to live your social life or me to live my social life to that extent. But children are different, and I will never shy away from protecting children.
And over the last few years, there's been a bill that would prohibit talking about sexual orientation and gender identity in the classroom. Would you support that legislation if it came to your desk?
I don't understand the fascination with teachers and wanting to talk to children about sex without having the parents involved. I don't understand the fascination with it, and I don't hear that from teachers. I think this is a manufactured crisis. I think teachers are not begging for the freedom to talk about sex with their children. In fact, I think teachers I talk to would love to have a law to point to say, we're not talking about that. We're going to focus on reading and writing and soft skills and all the things in math and all the things that you need to be a responsible young person and grow into a qualified worker. That's what teachers want. Teachers are tired of being forced to be a counselor, a mental health advocate, all these things. They just want to teach. And so I think that bill actually gives teachers help. They're tired of being put in the position of that. And what I hear from parents want control of their children's lives, and that is an absolute reasonable expectation. If you're a parent with a child today, that phone is the biggest threat to anything. Social media just stalks children. It puts rat poison into their brain every single day. As a parent, that's very tough. All parents are asking for is when I send my kid to school, when I can't be there watching over their shoulder, when I can't put that social media lock on their phone, I'm trusting you to just focus on the core fundamentals of preparing them to be an adult. Reading, writing, math, soft skills. Leave it to me to deal with all the other stuff that they go through adolescence. I think that's a reasonable expectation for parents.
And Louisiana has one of the strictest abortion bans in the country right now, and there's been talk about potentially adding exceptions for rape and incest. What's your thoughts on that?
I think the current exemptions in the law are sufficient, and I don't support altering the law. I am a pro-life guy. I believe in pro-life. You know, that's a faith-driven process as well as a life experience process for me. My wife and I have 3 boys. They're awesome. I love them all. I'm proud of all of them. Our middle son was a product of a very challenging pregnancy. We got some pretty harrowing projections when she first got pregnant, and part of the advice we got was to possibly terminate. We decided to double down. We drove right into the face of those harrowing projections, and what we have today is an 18-year-old son, Christopher. He is autistic, but he is unbelievable. He is the light of our lives. He has made my other boys much better men, and they will be for the rest of their lives. He's made my wife and I better people, and our entire extended family has really changed because of Christopher's presence. So that's our own personal life experience, and so I'm so glad we gave him a chance at life. And so I am a pro-life guy. It's a faith-driven process. It's also one because of life experiences.
And Stephen, looking at some of your most recent ads that have come out, you talk about yourself being a political outsider.
Yeah.
And being the head of lobby for 10 years and also working for Bobby Jindal, a lot of people see you as very much an insider.
Sure.
Could you kind of explain that to me?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be glad to. When people say outsider, a lot of times people say, oh, it has to be someone who has no knowledge of anything. Look, I'm not an unknowledgeable candidate. I'm not some guy running for governor who has no idea about government. That is one version of an outsider. I'm the most dangerous outsider there is. I've never run for office. I've never run for anything. I'm not a career politician. I've never been a politician. But I've been inside just long enough to know how to make things work. And I spent most of my career on the outside, banging on the front door of the Capitol, begging for change, pushing for jobs, pushing for economic growth, pushing for education reform. So yeah, I'm an educated outsider, and I wear it as a badge of honor. My opponents like to come after me and say that's not true because they are career politicians trying the same career old political things, so trying to solve the same old problems. It'll never work. It never will. You need an outsider, but also an outsider who understands how the inside works, understands how to drive change from the outside and the inside, and that's why I'm the most dangerous outsider that you can have.
And looking back at the legislature, this last session, the budget was passed with only a few minutes to spare, and there's been some fallout since then. As the governor, would you change any of the budget process to make sure that that didn't happen again?
Yes, I think that was a disgrace what happened at the end, to having everyone hold their cards so close to the vest at the last second to where it's very challenging. No one knows what they're voting on. That's not good for the Louisiana people. And that's why you see some of these funding projects that no one needs to see in there. Look, when I'm governor, no more splash pads and all that silly stuff on there. We're going to invest in priorities. The bridge here in Baton Rouge, the bridge in Lake Charles, coastal restoration, things like that. That's what we're going to invest in. We're going to do it responsibly. We're going to do it in a transparent way. I actually like what Texas does. Texas has a biennial budgeting process. Their legislature meets once every other year. If I get elected governor, I will propose that amendment to the people of the state to where we move to a biennial legislative session. And I think legislators will like it too, because that way they can plan their personal life, their business life more accordingly. Instead of always being in Baton Rouge every single year and special sessions coming up, let's meet every other year. Let's have a thoughtful examination of the budget. Let's do it transparently, and let's pass a 2-year strategic plan for the state. It's better for the legislature, it's more transparent, and I think it's better for the people of the state. So if you're a business or if you're a school or whatever you are that has to deal with what the state does, you know for 2 years what you're going to expect. It works well in Texas. I think it should work here in Louisiana as well.
Well, Stephen, just to wrap up, if you want to give the voters a few more reasons why they should vote for you.
Well, look, this is an important election in Louisiana's history. I think there's tremendous opportunity at hand. In the post-COVID era, people, businesses, companies all around the country, they're on the move. They've said they're not going to stay in states that are hard to live in. And we laugh at states like California, New York, and Illinois because they lose people, and we laugh at them. The truth is Louisiana's losing people, and Louisiana's losing jobs. And the southern states around us are killing it right now. They're gaining all that up. If we elect the right leadership at this time, if we focus on true solutions, workforce development, removing that political wet blanket on everything that we do, and decentralizing and trusting people more, I think we can start feasting like the other states in the South and start growing exponentially. What worries me is if we miss this moment and we double down on the status quo options of the past, what we're going to have is the same old, same old. And with the same old is this: family after family leaving one time after another. We lose our 20 to 30-year-olds to Texas. We lose our retirees who go wherever the grandkids are. We can't keep losing our people because our quality of life and our way of life leaves with them. So this is our moment in time. Take advantage of the economic boom all around us, and let's change Louisiana's narrative forever. And if folks want to learn more about my campaign, they can go to wagsforla.com.
All right, Stephen Waguespack running for governor. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Shannon. Appreciate you.
We'll be right back.